This year, I've had the privilege of being AACN's virtual president, which has given me the opportunity to meet nurses from all across our community. Just like today, even though we're apart, we're together. What I'll remember from this past year is the power of coming together to take on unprecedented challenges. Over the course of my term, the most frequent question I'm asked is, do you get a do-over? My answer is, I don't want a do-over. Having 2020 in the rearview mirror is just fine with me. But the most important reason I don't want or need a do-over is because I can't think of a greater privilege than to have taken on this unique role under these extraordinary circumstances. To hear your exceptional stories and honor and advocate for who we are and what we do every day as acute and critical care nurses. This year, while the world watched, we did what nurses always do. We stepped forward and stepped up to care for our patients. I'm inspired by each of you and all of us in a year we couldn't imagine. This has been a time of unspeakable suffering and tragedy. As acute and critical care nurses, we've borne witness to this pain, and we've experienced it ourselves. Each of us will remember this past year and the thousands of unique moments that made lasting impressions on us. Some of these impressions, the voice of nurses, were captured through our collaboration with Dear World. Through this collaboration, we spotlighted the stories of 39 nurses who worked on COVID units. Let me share one of these incredible stories, The Bread Pudding Promise by Sanders Colley, a nurse at Ochsner Health in Louisiana. He shared a powerful conversation starter he used to comfort a scared patient. He simply asked if she liked to cook. Her reply, "If you can get me out of here, I'm going to make you some bread pudding that will knock your socks off." As Sanders noted, we often don't know what happens to our patients. But this story, which captures his wise compassion and ability to connect, is an eternal memory of this patient. This story reminds us of the skillful, unusual ways we connect with patients at their most vulnerable, and the impact we have in those moments. Our stories can help us to grow and heal, and they are a source of power. Think about our collective voices and stories. They're our legacy. This is our moment. This past year has invoked so many powerful memories. Recently, an unexpected memory for me comes from supporting a vaccine clinic at the UW Medical Center's Northwest campus. I can only describe it as joyous work. I've witnessed the excitement, the tears, and relief on the face of our colleagues in the hospital and in the community, as well as individuals who've not stepped outside their homes for over a year. It's an honor to work with our superstar clinical lead, Mary Jo Kelly, who's a critical care clinical nurse specialist, and the volunteers, many of whom are frontline care providers, wanting to do something more, or who come to the clinic to find respite and healing by seeing the pandemic from a different angle. Out of this extraordinary experience, I'll also remember moments that happen so often they almost seem ordinary. People thanking us for what I feel honored to do every day, to be a nurse. Take a minute to think about your moments, those quiet experiences when you're the recipient of an expression of gratitude, recognition from a colleague, or a pat on the back. Let those moments wash over you and nourish you. Now stop and think about all you do every day, those times when you use your wisdom and compassion that you may think nothing of. Those moments are more powerful than you'll ever know. Those are the moments that others will remember. Although I haven't done as much teaching this past year, I'm always thrilled to give a presentation on my favorite subject, hemodynamics. So I'm taking advantage of this moment to give my NTI hemodynamics presentation on the importance of the ventricular function curve. I think the ventricular function curve summarized the past year better than any other image. Draw a ventricular function curve in your mind. Now, think about being at the bottom of that curve. When you needed a bolus, help came from across the hospital. Think about when you've been on the flat portion of the curve with no more to give. Maybe you need a little afterload reduction. being encouraged to take something off your plate, or giving yourself permission to not go to work when called for that extra shift. Or when an inotrope, in the form of a meaningful reminder of how amazing you are, gave you a little emotional boost. From clinical practice to our well-being, the lesson of the ventricular function curve that I've learned is the importance of tapping into the power of those around me and using available resources. As clinicians, we ask if our therapy improved the situation. Just as we titrate multiple vasoactive medications to optimize stroke volume and perfusion, ask yourself, how have I optimized my own outcomes? Taking care of yourself, but also all of us taking care of each other. How can we, as individuals and collectively, continue to take action to move towards a hopeful future of recovery and healthy growth? Now, I want to add, in a time that has been characterized as unprecedented, this is likely the first and only time in an NTI president speech that you'll ever go this in-depth into a clinical topic. While the words pandemic and unprecedented were ubiquitous in 2020, I have another word for this time that we've endured: shattered. While the definition of shattered often has a negative connotation, it can also describe what's possible for our hopeful future. I asked my thought partners from the University of Washington Medical Center in Seattle to consider what shattered means to them. Here's what Cheryl Greco, a critical care clinical nurse specialist and one of the most remarkable nurses I know, said.
What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. These words by Richard Bach offer me hope during these shattering times. Amid the shattering experiences we've all had this past year, the opportunity to transform and arise presents itself if we can pause to ponder and imagine what could be. As any good clinical nurse specialist, I offer a case study. 4.5 years ago, I suffered a spinal cord injury related to an unexpected medical illness. This left me with tetraplegia and a sense of catastrophe. The hope impressed upon me by family, friends, work colleagues, and my care teams helped me return to a different way of life. I returned to work as a critical care clinical nurse specialist, yes, in a bit of a transformed role, but one that still allows me to contribute in a meaningful way.
Cheryl inspires me every day. She always has. Her words remind me that we've shattered precedent and we have opportunities. Think about what we've learned. What's changed? What do we need? Think about what we must keep and what we must never repeat. This is our moment to ponder and imagine. Let me give you an example of a shattered precedent that has given us extraordinary opportunity and challenge. For the past year, our hallways and waiting rooms have been empty. Contact with families has been a source of distress for patients, for families, and for us. But even before the pandemic, only half of all hospitals had open visiting hours, and less than 20% had unlimited access. Here's the challenge for us. What's the healthy and safe future we hope to create as we welcome back families? What's the future that works for everyone? Reverend Mia Baumgartner, our Director of Spiritual Care and Wellbeing, echoed my exploration of what shattered means through the lens of kintsugi.
When I think about the word shattered, I think of the Japanese tradition of repairing broken pottery with gold. It's called kintsugi. And this process highlights the broken parts, how we make them stronger and how they're made more beautiful. Kintsugi is often paired with a philosophy called wabi-sabi, which means embracing imperfections and sometimes even living simply. And all those thoughts together really remind me of the events of this year and how these events have brought us to the true essence, the purpose of our true core, ourselves, the essence of our work and our relationships.
I've written in my President's column about post-traumatic growth, which is the process of positive change that can occur after a life crisis or trauma. Growth can occur through personal strength, new possibilities, improved relationships, and appreciation for life and spirituality. In the words of psychologist Richard Tedeschi, who developed this concept, we are not damaged or broken. We are different now because of our experiences. We've been molded into a different version of ourselves, not a diminished one. This is the essence of kintsugi. Finally, my friend, Dr. Cindy Sayre, Chief Nursing Officer at UW Medical Center, offered these thoughts on what shattered means to her.
When Liz asked me to think about what shattered, the word shattered means in terms of 2020, I really started thinking about the fact that there are many pieces all around us, and we've had things shattered, such as our own sense of safety, and in being able to get PPE, and in being able to even scratch our own faces. This shattered sense of safety and peace. And I've really thought about what can you do with shattered pieces that are all around you. And I think we have two choices. We can either throw them away, or we can gather up all these shattered pieces and make them into a beautiful mosaic. And that is what I'm hoping to see happen in nursing as we go forward, that we make something beautiful out of all the things that have shattered around us. There's a poem that I really like that I've quoted many times in the last year by Leonard Cohen. And he says, "Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." Wishing all of you the chance to let the light in.
Cindy's words remind me that this is our moment to honor who we are and what we are called to do. We've been shattered, but in the process, the light got in, and that light shone on the courage, resilience, and endurance that has always been demonstrated by our healthcare teams. America and the world has witnessed the wisdom, value, expertise, and compassion of acute and critical care nurses. This was our year, our moment, our time, and we met the challenge. When I first started thinking about our AACN theme, we were in the midst of a beautiful summer, almost 2 years ago, and the words coronavirus and pandemic were not a part of our daily language. During that summer, in trying to bring our theme to life, I read a great deal, including the book The Boys in the Boat by Daniel James Brown. Today, I'm here at the University of Washington campus on Lake Washington, in the century-old shell house, where the Boys in the Boat 9-man crew trained. That team traveled to Nazi Germany and overcame long odds to win a gold medal at the 1936 Olympics. The lesson of the boat was that while each person in the boat brings a unique strength, the key to their success was more than individual strength or perseverance. It was, as they said, the simple notion of everyone pitching in and pulling together. I feel their power here today, just as I feel yours. Like them, we've endured much and faced a strong adversary. But this year, more than ever, we've showed the world our strength, wisdom, and compassion as individuals, teams, and organizations. We've showed the world how we come together, all in purpose-driven action. This is our moment to honor our scars and experiences, and to carry our new knowledge and wisdom forward. This is our moment to continue to pull together to achieve something better. This is our moment to shatter precedent and let the light shine through the cracks. This is our moment to celebrate who we are, acute and critical care nurses. This is our moment.